United States President Donald Trump has stoked a controversy with South Africa. Referring to the African nation's land reform, Trump said that he has directed Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to study land seizures and the killings of farmers in South Africa, which has recently implemented a farm policy. South Africa has summoned the United States envoy over Trump's tweet on South African land policy. The African nation has accused the U.S. president of stoking racial divisions. United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said that he would visit North Korea next week to continue negotiations over the complete nuclear disarmament of the Korean peninsula. The announcement came as Pompeo appointed a special representative for North Korea. The trip comes amid reports that Pyongyang has failed to make meaningful progress towards denuclearization. This would be Pompeo's fourth visit to the country. The U.S. State Department has said that Mike Pompeo will not be meeting North Korean leader Kim Jong-un when he will visit the country next week. The U.S. stock markets have been hit by the ongoing trade war between China and the United States. The Wall Street's major indexes fell as trade-sensitive stocks were hit by a new round of tariffs in the escalating trade dispute between the two economic superpowers. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell by 0.3%. An archbishop of the U.S. state of Missouri has said that the archdiocese has invited investigators to review the church's files to determine whether it handled allegations of clergy sexual abuse properly or not. Missouri has launched a probe into alleged cases of sexual abuse involving pastors. This comes after the state of Pennsylvania was rocked by a similar scandal. The U.S. state of Hawaii has been hit by its worst storm in 25 years as Hurricane Lane made a landfall on the state's Big Island. United States President Donald Trump has issued an emergency declaration as the storm is expected to advance towards the most populated region of the state. Schools and government offices remain shut while residents lined up at the supermarkets to stock up on supplies. The American Weather Service has said that the Category 3 tropical storm would lead to significant coastal erosion. South Korea has issued an alert as Typhoon Sulik made a landfall on the country's southern coast. The tropical storm, which is moving at a speed of 8 kilometers per hour, is expected to bring heavy rainfall to the Korean mainland. Meanwhile, in an emergency meeting, the South Korean President Moon Jae-in asked the local governments to take all necessary actions to keep people safe. Over 800 flights were cancelled in South Korea in the wake of Typhoon Sulik, which is the first typhoon in 6 years to make landfall on the Korean peninsula. The typhoon left one person missing and one injured as it pounded Jeju Island overnight, causing blackouts in some 12 households. Major ports have also been shut down in the country. The typhoon is expected to pass through the South Korean capital of Seoul today. Japan's self-defense forces displayed their military strength at the island nation's annual summer army exercise that was held at the foot of Mount Fuji. Tanks, aircraft and a series of armored vehicles participated in a variety of live fire and combat drill that was attended by thousands of spectators. Japan has been ranked 8th in the world when it comes to military expenditure, and the country's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been seeking to bolster the nation's defense. Supporters of embattled Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega attended a rally marking the 40th anniversary of the National Palace's takeover by the guerrillas. The takeover was a turning point in the Nicaraguan revolution, which aided Ortega's rise to power. Argentine federal police and investigators searched a home belonging to former President Cristina Fernandez as part of a high-profile corruption case. Fernandez is accused of taking bribes from construction companies in return for government contracts. The scandal is likely to impact next year's presidential election, in which leftist Fernandez may try to unseat Argentina's current president, whose popularity has taken a hit as the economy slipped into recession. Greeks are struggling to get life on track on the aftermath of a deadly wildfire that killed nearly 100 people. Residents are still looking for their missing relatives while the authorities are focused on restoration work. Engineers inspecting the area have ordered demolition of scores of buildings which suffered heavy damages. Thousands of Venezuelans are fleeing their economic crisis in the country in search of a better life elsewhere. A Brazilian government shelter home has opened its doors to indigenous Venezuelans who were amongst the worst hit by Venezuela's high inflation. The preparation for Pope Francis' Ireland visit are on at full swing in the Irish capital of Dublin. The Pope's visit to the deeply Catholic country comes months after Ireland voted to legalise abortion. Nearly 40,000 are expected to attend Pope Francis' address in Dublin. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has begun his 4-day Lithuania visit. On day one, Netanyahu met with his Lithuanian counterpart. The visit is an attempt to bolster Israel's ties with Baltic nations and Europe in general. Notably, the Israeli leader has Lithuanian roots as his grandmother hailed from the country. A suburb of the French capital of Paris has been rocked by a knife attack in which 2 people were killed. The police has said that a 36-year-old man who apparently suffered from psychiatric problems stabbed his mother and sister to death. Meanwhile, the suburb remained on high alert, with residents expressing safety concerns. Terrorist organisation Islamic State claimed responsibility of the Paris knife attack, which claimed 2 lives, but the French Interior Ministry has said that the attack was not related to terrorism. However, some officials have said that the man was on a terror watch list. Harvesters in southern France are keeping the tradition of collecting salt by hand alive. Every year between mid-July and August, harvesters perform traditional activity which has been passed down from generation to generation. Sweden has handed over the remains of 7 indigenous people to Australian government. The remains of the 7 individuals were brought to the European nation in the 19th century by a Swedish physician and a zoologist. The gesture was a part of the Australian government's repatriation program, which supports the return of Australian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders' ancestral remains from foreign collections in an effort to promote reconciliation. 4 Canadian soldiers who died during World War I were buried in a cemetery in France. The remains of the soldiers, which were found in 2010 and 2011 near Lens in the northern region of France, were recently identified by the Canadian Armed Forces. The men in August 1917 at the Battle of Hill, which claimed heavy casualties. Walls across a French town are being painted with colourful graffiti in the run-up to a street art festival. The festival, which is in its 3rd edition, will take place in the northern region of the European nation. The art fest is attended by scores of international artists. The Indian Railways has found an artistic way to preserve Madhubani art of Bihar. Coaches of the Bihar Sampark Kranti Express, which connects New Delhi to Darbhanga in Bihar, has been painted with the Mithila region art. Paintings of this style are made by using fingers, brushes and matchsticks with the help of natural dyes and pigments. The artistic makeover was done by students of the National Institute of Design in Ahmedabad. Floods have badly hit the tourism sector of the famous tourist hotspot of Kerala. The state's picturesque Alappuzha district, which is renowned for its unique houseboats, has been devoid of any tourism owing to the disaster. Boat owners and guides, usually busy plying small tourist boats and big houseboats, said the business had plummeted with unprecedented cancellations. The coastal Indian state is among India's most famous tourist destinations across the world. The estates of India's flood-ravaged Kerala state, which were closed for the past 2 weeks due to the fear of landslides and rains, have resumed work. The tea industry, which is the leading industry of the southern Indian state, has suffered huge losses as downpour destroyed several plantations. A group of acid attack victims collected relief materials in India's financial capital of Mumbai for the victims of the Kerala floods. The women, along with other volunteers, collected relief materials in over 4 centres and urged others to come forward and help the people stranded in the disaster-hit state. The packages included ready-to-eat food items, clothing and toiletries, among other things. Nearly 400 people have been killed due to rain-related incidents in the second worst floods to hit the state in a century. The President of India, Ram Nath Kovind, inaugurated the 6th International Buddhist Conclave in New Delhi. The event, based on the theme, The Living Heritage of Buddha, aims to showcase Indian Buddhist infrastructure and boost tourism and investment in various parts of the country. Delegates from 29 countries, including United States, United Kingdom, Germany, France and Russia, will be taking part in the conclave. And time now for a look at the top stories making news from sports. 15-year-old Shardul Vihan has continued India's strong throwing and shooting events in Indonesia by bagging the silver medal in men's double trap event. Representing India for the first time in a senior event, Vihan displayed sensational form in the qualifying rounds, scoring a stunning 141 out of 150 to finish top of the charts. But excellent shooting by South Korea's Shin Hyun-woo meant Vihan had to settle for a very creditable silver and India's 8th shooting medal of the Games so far. In tennis, India's top men's double pair of Rohan Bopanna and Divij Sharan will be contesting for the Asia 2018 gold medal after coming through a tense match tie-break to prevail in the semi-finals. Bopanna and Sharan had already guaranteed themselves a bronze medal, but edged the Japanese duo of Kaito Uesugi and Shoshima Bukoro to advance the final. The Indian pair will now face the Kazakh pair of Denis Yevseyev and Alexander Bublik in the gold medal match later today. Staying with tennis, Ankita Raina has become only the second Indian woman to win a singles medal at the Asian Games. Raina put in a brave effort in her semi-final but was beaten 4-6, 6-7 by top seed Zhang Shuai of China. Raina, though, comes away with a creditable bronze medal, emulating Sania Mirza, who had won a singles silver in 2006 and bronze in 2010.